Two new cases of COVID-19 reported in Muskoka. Rick Maloney is looking for your thoughts on Bracebridge's future. And one last look at one of Huntsville's most defining events from a decade ago. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News for June the 25th. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. Two new COVID-19 infections have been identified in Muskoka. The Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit is confirming two people in Muskoka Lakes Township, a woman in her 60s and a man in his 70s, have both tested positive for the virus. The cause of both infections are still under investigation. Now, there has been quite a bit of discussion about part-time or non-residents becoming infected while in Muskoka or Parry Sound, and the health unit's not reporting this information in the area. This discussion has now become more official in Parry Sound after last night, according to Radio Works News Director Tom Mangos. He reports the council has forwarded a letter calling on the province to change reporting format and make health units offer more transparency when someone becomes infected but leaves the area to recover. We'll be following more closely with this story as we get more details on it. Now, there's no question that tourism has taken a big hit thanks to COVID-19. With restrictions being eased, the province is throwing support behind the industry in an attempt to save the summer season.
And the tourism minister, Lisa MacLeod, spent a day in Muskoka last week, really with that message in mind, that to try to get people comfortable with being out and doing things again in a safe way. You know, of course, we've heard it many times. It means where possible, doing physical distancing. If that's not possible, wear a mask and, of course, wash your hands lots. But she spent the day at places like Santa's Village, which is not yet open, and Algonquin Outfitters here in Huntsville, which posing by some canoes where lots of people are renting, going out for paddle. But we're really at the stage, and with summer fast approaching, especially with businesses in Parry Sound, Muskoka that so much rely on July and August, that we're at the stage where we need to get people comfortable with doing things and getting out and spending their money and supporting our businesses at this point. Part of my logic for having the Minister of Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industries start off her day in Muskoka at Santa's Village was that's a really important business, and their young family that owns it have invested all kinds of money, have big plans for the future. They just bought a new train there, which is quite impressive. But their season at this point is July and August, so it's really important that they be able to open safely, and so I'm lobbying for that. The Island Queen, Steve Anderson up in Parry Sound, you know, they've looked at how they can operate safely. They've taken half the seats out of the boat. We've got all kinds of protocols in place, Lady Muskoka and Bracebridge, but right now the 10-person rule doesn't allow them to operate. So I hear that the Chi-Chi-Mong is running over to Manitoulin Island and Toronto ferries are running, you know, and so I'm lobbying to allow them to operate safely because their season is very short and it's a critical business for our area.
Well, the town of Bracebridge is looking for quite a bit of public engagement as it prepares to tackle some new major projects in the next few decades. I checked in with Deputy Mayor Rick Maloney to find out how you can get involved in the future of the community.
Well, the town of Bracebridge has embarked on a downtown master planning process, very similar to what we did a few years back with our Parks and Trails master plan process, but this is specifically for our downtown. There's been a lot of changes and potentially a lot of changes coming in the future for our downtown. We were able to purchase the then Timber Mart property, now Rona property, a few years back. And often we get asked in the community what's happening with the Rona property. Of course, we have our new arena, library field house that's going to be built in the flats area, and that's going to leave some new opportunities for the historic Carnegie Library, and of course the old arena, and we often get again asked what's happening to the old library and to the old arena. So this is an opportunity. This master plan will be a guide for us, not just for today or tomorrow, but for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years on how we want to see our downtown develop. So really asking the public to engage with us through engagebracebridge.ca and provide us feedback on what they would like to see. We would encourage folks to go there. There's a short 15-minute survey that will allow people to answer some very specific questions about the downtown, but also there's a discussion forum where you can leave some comments about some of the ideas that you might have to see how our downtown is connected to our waterfront, to facilities like the Woodchester Villa, like our beaches, our Kelvin Grove Park, and even the old high school property. So really actually want people to take some time, engage in the survey, go to engagebracebridge.ca and take some time to provide some feedback to us.
We're taking a break, but stay with us for more after this. Welcome back. 4 new marijuana dispensaries are set to open in Muskoka, the first of their kind in this area. Yesterday, I chatted with the owner of one of these potential stores. Huntsville may be getting its first marijuana dispensary very soon. Shelby Behrens-Stevenson, owner of the Mellow Moose in town, has applied to become one of the first 4 pot shops in Muskoka. The business owner says her new store, Toke, is a natural move for her, expanding on a business she already owns, which is focused on the marijuana culture.
So I've been in this industry for a long time, and I just love my customers and I love the product, and I think that this industry has so much potential, and I want to be a part of it.
Behrens-Stevenson says the process of applying for a dispensary license through the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario has been relatively straightforward.
So a lot of background checks. There has been some initial investment. And then right now we're in the public notice period. So after that, hopefully we get our final inspection and approval, and we're hoping to be open by early to mid-July.
She says even with opening the Mellow Moose, she's always felt accepted in this community and hopes to inspire other women who want to open a business.
With Mellow Moose, selling related product, this town has been great to me. The area has been great to me. I see a lot more, cannabis is already so much more accepted now, so I just see that becoming more normalized. I mean, it's trying at times, and it's a lot of work, but it's so rewarding.
That feeling of acceptance is definitely felt next door to the proposed location for Toke, where Orbis owner Stacey Thornton says she's proud of her fellow entrepreneur for taking the risk on expanding.
I think it'll help bring people to this area in downtown Huntsville. There's not very much knowledge of Brunel Road having different businesses up here. So I think it'll help bring people up this way. And I think Shelby's an incredible entrepreneur, and I think she's going to do a great job with it.
We're taking another break, but stay tuned for more. Welcome back. Well, all week we've been talking about Welcome back. Well, all week we've been talking about the 10th anniversary of the G8 Summit here in Huntsville, and Scott Acton is standing by to give us a bit more of some tidbits on that before we end the week out.
Yeah, as we head into the 10th anniversary, which really would be this weekend. Now, 10 years ago on the night leading in, we produced about a 6-minute clip that basically encompassed the 2.5 years of planning that went into hosting the G8 Summit. So you're going to see the highs and the lows, the planning, and just the general atmosphere in this community as we prepared to host the G8 Summit.
All right, let's take a look.
Huntsville itself is a jewel in the Canadian Shield, an ideal location for this gathering of world leaders. Tony made a very persuasive case for this location. He argued our international guests would be charmed by the uniquely Canadian beauty of the region and by the warm hospitality of Muskokans. Now, I'm sure Tony and his constituents are not unaware of the benefits of hosting the summit. The international media will introduce Huntsville and the Muskokas to millions of potential tourists around the world. Moreover, judging from the results of the 2002 summit in Kananaska, Alberta, we would anticipate that the total provincial regional economic benefit will likely exceed the nearly $300 million that was generated for the summit in Alberta.
Incredible, frankly, for Huntsville. I mean, this is what we have dedicated our economic development thrust towards, is events tourism. I don't think it gets any bigger than the G8 Summit for events tourism.
The enormity of which I guess really won't sink in for a few days. And when we can sit down with some folks and say, okay, what is it that we really are going to expect in Muskoka in 2010?
That our Conservative government has created a new fund in the budget dedicated to G8 projects. This fund will provide our communities with up to $50 million for new investments in roads, runways, and buildings throughout the region so that we are fully prepared to host the G8.
I think I did the math, and we're spending somewhere around $650,000 a week for the next year on capital projects. So that brings it home for folks to understanding the amount of the quantity of things we're doing.
The G8 is the largest annual global security event.
Look at that. There we go. We are officially now 1 year away from the start of the 2010 G8 Summit. As you may be aware, this morning the Prime Minister confirmed that not only is the G8 coming to Muskoka, but we will also be hosting the G20 nations in Muskoka as well. In terms of incremental costs associated with the G20, I'm sure one of the factors associated with holding the G20 in Muskoka is that we're already preparing for a G8, which in fact was closer to a G12 or a G14 in any event. So the incremental costs should be bearable and do not at this time mean a whole new budget for a G20. In fact, I would argue against that. I think we want to be careful with taxpayer money. We have been careful with taxpayer money, and so one of the advantages to doing this in Muskoka is, in fact, that you, as Claude said, you can use what was being prepared for the G8 for also the G20 at very little extra cost.
I can't for a moment imagine how they would, knowing what security planning has gone on with us here in Huntsville for the 8, how they could, virtually do the same thing, for wherever else the G20 might be almost concurrently, I think would be really difficult. So I think the better place for it's right here.
The G20 Summit will not be held in Muskoka. Prime Minister Stephen Harper confirmed the rumor that had been going around for weeks that Toronto will in fact host the G20 June 26th and 27th.
Well, it's hard not to have a twinge. When at one point we were holding, we had the whole enchilada, and now we have part of it. But it is still a good news story for Huntsville.
What this does is puts right in the heart of this community a place of higher learning. It gives us a window into two very important industries, the healthcare industry and the environment.
So we've been working in that range of the low $8 million range for
for our debt when all things are said and done. The net increase that will hit taxpayers will be about a 2.54% increase. And if your house is assessed at $100,000, that's 74 cents a month. And the average house is probably assessed around $200,000, which would mean it would sell for maybe $250 or something like that, maybe more. And so that would be $1.50 a month. A cup of coffee a month gives you all of this infrastructure. And I think that's really good news for our community.
So ladies and gentlemen, your new center, come on in.
It's like, you know, you're preparing for a big dinner party and you've just sat down and you're waiting for all of your guests to arrive.
Well, I think it's going to get crazy in Huntsville, but I know a lot of the store owners are looking forward to it, and I think everyone's looking forward to the impact that it'll have on not just the economy, but just kind of getting Huntsville on the map.
Well, we just had a look at that clip. Very interesting, as you mentioned, Scott, a lot of the highs and lows that came with the G8 summit, but overall really kind of gave us an idea of the road to that summit, which was about a year, as I understand, in preparation, right?
Yeah, certainly a couple of years, really, from the time Prime Minister Harper made the announcement at Deerhurst till we saw the world leaders arrive, was about 2 years. And as Claude Dowdy said earlier in the week, I mean, it was go, go, go for a lot of that, and you know, just the construction, the infrastructure being built in order to make it happen, and of course some controversy along the way that never hurts as well.
All right, well, Scott, really appreciate you again taking the time this week to provide us a little trip down memory lane there.
Thank you, James.
All right, we are going to take another break. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to downtown Bracebridge. Well, we check in on our community care partner, Muskoka Parry Sound Sexual Assault Services, and their director, Lauren Power. So, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. How have your services been able to continue throughout the pandemic? Because they are so essential.
Well, actually, we're really grateful to the coalition of the Ontario Coalition of Rape Crisis Centers, because a couple of years ago they got an innovation grant for helping survivors use technology. So we were lucky enough to have a privacy compliant Zoom program in place when COVID started. And so it didn't take us too long to shift all of our programming to online group and online face-to-face, one-to-one counseling.
What at this time would you ask your community and how we could best support you to be able to continue these services?
Well, shout out to all of the businesses on this street who have supported us over many years. suffering right now with their businesses being so challenged by COVID. So I want to just begin by saying thank you to all these businesses around here who have donated things to us, who've supported us over so long. And so I'm going to say at this time we're grateful to the community for all of the donations we've received. If people want to give a donation, you can go to our website. It's mpssas.org. But I also encourage our community to step forward to help all of the community recover. And so I'm going to say, put your donations into these businesses around us at the moment, because we're okay. We have some COVID grants and we're managing.
What positives, if any, have come through the pandemic that you might be able to share with us today?
Also, for survivors of sexual assault, sometimes it can be really intimidating to come to an office like this, to meet people face to face, to begin to acknowledge what has happened. And so one of the positive things with us going online is that we're finding that people who haven't accessed us before are feeling safe doing that online work. I think that, you know, in a time like this, when we're all so challenged, it's really, really important to be able to know that you're not isolated, know that we're here, you can contact us. We will find a way to make it possible for you to access our services.
We have some incredible community care partners in Muskoka, and if you're interested in having your favorite charity highlighted, contact the Ripple of Kindness Muskoka chapter, or better yet, join the organization and really feel the power of many with collaborative contributions by like-minded individuals.
Who's ready for some more entertainment this week in and around Muskoka? I know I sure am, and I've got some shows that you have to check out. Hunters Bay Radio's Quarantunes is back once again with some more entertainment. This Thursday at 7 p.m., I will be performing. You'll get a sneak peek of some of the songs that will be featured on my upcoming album, mixed with some of my favorite covers from a wide variety of genres and styles. And don't forget to tune in this Saturday night at 7 to catch a performance by Grady Kelnick. Grady's acoustic guitar and voice are conduits for traditional and folk musings. He's always drawing influences and creating his own incredible works. Find all the details on both these shows on the Hunters Bay Radio Facebook page. Shout out to Lake of Bays Brewing Company and Hunters Bay Radio for providing these shows over the past few months. Continue to show your support for the Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital this Thursday with the continuing Essential Concert Series, this week featuring Aurelia's own guitarist extraordinaire Jacob Pierce. His greatest aspiration is to provide the fullest sound possible with an acoustic guitar and his vocals, both with his original materials and his covers. Tune in at 8 p.m. and find all the details on the Essential Concert Series Facebook page. Don't miss the next show of London-based John Muirhead's I Can Stream Anywhere series, which has been sponsored by the Muskoka Music Festival. John's award-winning indie folk song collection is the soundtrack to both the party and the long walk home. The show on Saturday starts at 8 p.m. on his Facebook page. And next week, the Stocky Center's Bands on the Bay online series, sponsored by the North Star, continues with Thorn and Roses, a high-energy trio featuring a blend of uncompromising three-part harmonies, unique arrangements of country, classic rock, and pop standards, and an energy so abundant it promises to have audience members on their feet from the first note to the very last. Catch their show on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Details can be found by going to the Stocky Center website. Few artists are storytellers as deft and disarmingly observational as Toronto-based, Saskatchewan-raised Andy Schaaf. The Huntsville Festival of the Arts presents this master singer-songwriter and storyteller on Tuesday at 9 p.m. for an all-request live stream. Schaaf's songs are densely layered with colorful characters and a rich emotional depth. Tickets can be purchased on the Huntsville Festival of the Arts website. Thanks for tuning in. Now grab your computer, sit out on the dock, and enjoy some great shows. See you next week when I'll be highlighting some cool Canada Day shows.
Well, that's Cogeco News, folks, and you can find more information on the show by going to yourtv.tv. And we are done for the week. I'm off next week. Scott Acton will be filling in for me, and so I will wish you an early Happy Canada Day, and I will see you in just a couple of weeks. Have a good night.